Hello, y'all. I'm Minister Dominic Alexander, president of the Next Generation Action Network. Of course, many of you guys know we are currently in a local election season where people are running for city council and local school board election. And of course, you know what is near and dear to the heart of the Next Generation Action Network and aligned with our mission is education. If you know anything about our organization, you know that education has been near and dear to our heart, to the core of the organization, in the work that we have done in Dallas ISD. So today, our first interview of this season is going to be with my brother, Byron Sanders, who is running for Dallas ISD Trustee District 5.
District 5.
I believe that's my neighborhood. You know what I mean?
think
I'm born and raised in that 75216.
Yeah.
The best part of Oak Cliff, man.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a stranger to Byron Sanders. So I want to be able to come on here to make sure that people who don't know who Byron Sanders is in the work, I always tell people all the time, in Dallas is the only place in America where you can be doing so many different amazing things and people don't know about it.
Right.
Or then later on people play amnesia on the work, right? And so, of course, today is an ability for people that might not know who Byron Sanders is, that story, that son of the city, right? Just your complete story, right? And so today we want to be able to make sure that people, and I know many times people run for elections and this their first time doing something, right? But, you know, I'm shooting shots with that one, but I know this ain't your first rodeo. So I'm just going to open up the playing field, man. Tell somebody to get the foundation of who Byron Sanders is.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you sharing your platform and giving your support. So who's Byron Sanders? Man, I am, I've said it before, I do feel like I'm a son of this city. I'm a son of an educator. My mother, 40 years in education, 36 in Dallas ISD, in fact. She helped open up one of the learning centers in West Dallas, Eladio Martinez, also in the neighborhood of District 5, right? So, you know, education has always been something that was critically important in my life. Me and my brother, my aunt, 40 years at Kimball, math. I even married a teacher. So, like, education was just all part of it. Well, it didn't take long for me to know that I was going to want to do something in it. I was in college when me and my friend started a mentoring and tutoring company. So imagine if, like, you know, pick a mentoring organization, you know, Big Brothers Big Sisters, something like that. Imagine they had tutoring as well. And so our first big initiative was through the algebra initiative in Samuel feeder pattern with Samuel, Florence, Runyon, and Teich. And we were bringing college kids in there. So that goes all the way back to, man, that was 2004. And I've been involved in the district ever since, whether it's advocating on behalf of our young people to be able to get the resources that they need, like the work that we did together in South Oak Cliff, making sure that they got that school, to making sure that we're advocating for the right kind of tax ratification that we need, the kind of support that we ultimately are going to have to lean into in order to get resources for Dallas ISD, especially in this time, in this day and age. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But, man, I grew up in Oak Cliff, right? I grew up, I went to Dale Turner in the Redbird area. Football, track, theater, church, everything was in Oak Cliff. We lived our whole life there.
I'm glad you're from Oak Cliff, man. You know, it makes it much better, man.
It's so much more helpful.
It's so much.
It just is.
The best part of Dallas.
And then, and we live, you know, and we live there now. So we in 75224, but we're right there, Wynwood Village, right behind Wynwood Village. Zang, Illinois. It feels like home, man, because it is. And I'm excited to run for District 5 because it's not just about Dallas ISD. It is about this district, too.
Correct.
It's a special district.
Correct.
And some amazing people in this district, amazing work already happening in this district. And my whole thing, one of the things that I talk about all the time is that We don't need to come and fix South Oak Cliff. We don't need to come and fix West Dallas. We don't need to come and fix Cedar Crest. The people in there don't need fixing.
Correct.
What we need are resources.
Correct.
What we need is opportunity, and what we need is the right kind of policy environment that allows the greatness that's already down here to be fully invested in and manifest. And so I'm just committed to that, been since, over 20 years now, brother.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, man, one of the things I appreciate about Byron is, and that I want people to know, man, when I remember in 2015, when we were organizing the kids to walk out of South Oak Cliff High School, I was getting so much pushback from so many people about that, that I needed to call certain people to come and join and be a part. And Byron was one of those people who answered the call, right? You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, I need people just here. I need you to come out here or whatever. Something is about to go down. It's going to be it's going to hit shockwaves
Right.
to the city of Dallas.
Yeah.
It's going to revolutionize. Because we were getting so much pushback from so many different people, right? So, I've always appreciate that, and one of the things, the purpose of this interview today is to ensure that people don't know that, hey, man, you ain't just showed up, man. Just tell somebody about, like, your professional career and also just some of the stuff that you've done in behind the scenes from in education and in leadership.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, man. Like, my first career right out of school was actually in healthcare.
Yeah.
And that's why it's kind of come full circle. What I'm doing right now, I have a healthcare innovation firm that's taking care of the people who take care of people, basically making sure that folks who have not had access to game-changing healthcare that prevents illness, they finally get access to that, affordable. So that's what I'm doing now. But after I left Pfizer, that's where I was, I call it a quarter-life crisis, man.
Yeah.
Purpose. I wrote a mission statement because I was coming home at the end of the day, and everything, all the boxes were being checked. Like, good job, got the car, wife, house, kid on the way, all of those things, but I still felt empty.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, was because I wasn't moving in alignment with purpose.
Correct.
That experience that I had growing up. So I went to Dallas ISD elementary and middle school, right? Dale Turner. Then I went to the tag magnet over at when it was at Spence.
Yeah.
Met a mentor. He told me about Green Hill. I went up there, took a test. I thought it was another magnet. I didn't even know it was a private school. But I ended up going up there, and it was a whole new world, right? Like, the kids' parking lot looked better than the teachers' parking lot. It was. I had never been around that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing was really clear for me, too. Every day when we drove up there, we passed this river. We passed I-30.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new world. It was a different world.
Yeah.
So even in high school, I knew I was involved in kind of the Dallas story.
Yeah.
The tale of two cities.
Yeah.
North side, south side.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I just knew a lot of my friends that I'd grown up with were having different stories than the ones that I was seeing on the north side. All right, so I knew I was going to have to do something in that. Fast forward, Pfizer, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that work that I felt called to.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote this mission statement. The mission of Byron Sanders, to love my God with all my heart and soul, to be the husband, father, son, brother, according to what pleases him, and to work diligently and daily in my most sincere efforts to pursue my appointed purpose with honor, character, bravery, and love.
Yeah.
Wrote that in 2007, hasn't changed. Went from there back to the company that we started as undergrads, that mentor and tutoring company. I took over the math initiative at the time, and we grew to about 70-something schools, bro. Elementary, middle, and high school, just about every school. We were partnering with teachers, principals. Many of the relationships that I have, even to this day, were forged in 2009, 2010, 2011, working alongside them. Matter of fact, Dr. Ellis Alday, that's the first time we worked together when she was over the STEM department.
Yeah.
We were working in the math initiative. It was a radically successful program, going from 0% passing rate to 60-something% passing rate in 1 year. Well, from there, then I ran and helped reboot the Dallas Education Foundation.
Yeah.
It's going really well right now. bringing in resources to
Yeah.
Dallas ISD. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Went from there into banking. I was at Bank of America doing investment management, started off with high net worth, but eventually got over to institutions, including foundations, museums, endowments, things like that. But when I was there, deeply civically involved. As a matter of fact, while I was there, that's when all the SOC stuff was happening,
Yeah.
right? And the thing that brought me over there, and the reason why I answered that call is the same reason that you were fighting for it too.
Yeah.
It was these young people leading.
Yeah.
And when you have young people stand up and say, this isn't right, this is unjust, we told them that. Matter of fact, we said, hey, if you see something, say something. We've been telling kids that since they were in elementary school. So we can't ignore them when they finally do, yo, I see something.
Yeah.
And I'm saying something.
Yeah.
So these adults, it was important for us to listen to them, get behind them, and make sure that we were doing right by this entire community. They called us into action, and I responded.
Yeah.
So I was working very closely with you, Trustee Maxie Johnson, a number of the different community advocates to make sure that the district was hearing them
Yeah.
and that we were going to get where we needed to be for an equitable investment.
Correct.
And no, I didn't need to be in front of the cameras. I didn't need to be, with the lights, camera, action. I did speak on the record, and everybody was like, who was that dude, right? But I was there because it was the right thing to do.
Correct.
And ever since, been serving on the board of 4 Oak Cliff since before it was an official, 501c3. Locked in there. Like I said, man, this goes all the way back. Like that's where, Zoom Walk was football practice, bro. Cummins Rec. That was where we were going after church, spending the night over, friends' house and just hooping up there. Like this community is still a big part of me. And there was no way that I wasn't going to stand up on behalf of these young people
Correct.
when it was time for us to move. And you know what? We ain't done yet.
Correct.
There's a lot more investment that we need. We need to be fighting for our resources from the state.
Yeah.
Gonna be locked in, man. But to your point, I ain't new to this. We've been out here.
Tell us about your time as CEO of Big Thought.
7 years, man. 7 years at Big Thought.
At a
I
nonprofit.
know,
Oof.
bro. I know. 7
Man.
years, bro. You know what? I was on the board when I was at the bank.
Yeah.
And it wasn't new to me then either because I worked with them when I was at the Dallas Education Foundation. Matter of fact, I worked alongside Big Thought in the tutoring program back in like 2011.
Yeah.
The thing that I love about that organization is it acknowledges that a young person's life and journey is not just what happens in the classroom.
Correct.
It's about the experiences that they have outside of the classroom. It's about building up their social and emotional skills to be able to have their own agency, their own power to control their actions and their emotions and build relationships with other people and folks at home, right? It's about being able to then get experiences in summer after school that's going to create a wide world. They're like, yo, I can see what I want to be when I grow up. Those kinds of things. That's what we did at Big Thought. And it wasn't just about going to experiences. It's about building skills. All these skills that we know are actually really necessary for a 21st century world where it's not just only reading, writing, arithmetic, but it's also communication, working in teams, problem solving, critical thinking. You get to do that stuff too. That's what we did at Big Thought. So for 7 years, I led as CEO. We started off as about a $7 million organization. By the time I left, we were about $14 million. And all of that was investing back into partnerships, back into our communities. One of the things we did over there too, as we think about solutions that we absolutely can bring to the district, we helped redesign the alternative school over in Fort Worth. So there's a school right now that's co-run by Fort Worth ISD and Big Thought. It's the school that kids get sent to on disciplinary referrals. And it took us about 3 years to really understand how to do it well. But you know what? They're doing an amazing job. How to do reset rooms well, we know how to do that work. Restorative justice, we know how to do that work. Those are the kinds of things that we can absolutely, and that's the kind of knowledge base I want to draw upon in order to be an effectively serving trustee for the things that matter most to us right now.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So, I met Trustee Maxie Johnson, of course, predecessor, and that person who has endorsed you for District 5 trustee. I remember when we first, he first announced that he was running for a school board trustee. The big push was making sure that equity was coming to District 5, and particularly the southern part of the city, in regards to building investments and all that type of stuff or whatever. It started really showing the tales of two cities when you look at equity in regards to investment.
Yeah.
And many people will say, yeah, that's just brick and mortar, but the reality is that, charter schools were growing larger because of that lack of investment. And yet the average parent don't look up and go look up data online on a school to send their kids. They looking at whether the school parking lot and the front face of the school looks good, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us, what's your plan? We know that Trustee Johnson really focused on a lot on really making sure that real investments, and we saw that with John Lewis, Albert Black, Pinkston, Sock, number of schools that got rebuilds, got major investment, Roosevelt, a lot of critical schools. What is your plan in regards to where the district is right now? What do you want to focus on day one?
No, I believe that, one, we need to continue the legacy of what Trustee Maxie Johnson has done on making sure that those resources for the physical plant continues to be invested in this side of town. People don't recognize District 5 is the biggest district in Dallas ISD. There's more students in District 5 than any other district. And it covers West Dallas, it covers Oak Cliff, it covers North Oak Cliff, it covers South Oak Cliff. Then it cuts all the way, it covers Oak Lawn, Uptown, cuts all the way east to Wilma Hutchins. It's huge.
Yeah.
And the investment, as robust as it's been over the last few years, still isn't enough to make up for the decades that we did not have in equitable investment in the southern part of Dallas. And so that ain't gonna stop. I'm gonna keep making those pushes myself. There's some things that we need to finish out in West Dallas. There's some things that we absolutely should be doing for our middle schools and for our elementaries too. Right? These are going to be critical parts. And the thing that I'll say to anybody who says, it's not just about the buildings, right? But if you have the money, what's your house look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Speak that.
What does your house look like?
Yeah.
What's your driveway? If you got potholes and everything, are you calling the city to get that? Of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are. I'm tired of people saying you have enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Oh, you just dug something up. I remember a lady told us in a community meeting when we was entrenched in the fight at South Oak Cliff. She said it was better than nothing. And I was like, I was like, what is going on? And, one of the biggest things, Byron, is when I became an activist and organizer, I realized that, and I didn't even know this, and I went to Dallas ISD from kindergarten all the way to graduation. I did not know that the Dallas ISD was one of the last major school districts to force segregation order. Desegregation order, monitoring ended in 2004.
I'm about to say, we were still in school, bro.
Majority of the year. I'm like, wait a minute. Majority of my you here to tell me that when I was in 5th grade, they didn't clear? Yeah. 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade?
The whole time. And it's so funny though, man, because you're right. Every time we're taught this is history, right?
Yeah.
We they would roll the big TV in on the little black thing that you roll it in. They turn it on, and then we watch Eyes on the Prize.
Yeah.
In black and white.
Yeah.
Like it's some kind of thing back then.
Yes.
As opposed to what we were living at the time and still are.
Man.
Right now.
Man.
Just because the deseg order is gone don't mean we're integrated. We aren't. And Dallas ISD, that's why I credit the board for saying, yes, we're going to have an equity policy. We're going to put it in policy. It's not going to be just something that we tactically and strategically ask the administration to do if they can get around to it. Locking in the policy, that's important.
Correct.
Because when it's locked in the policy, now we get an opportunity to say, okay, 2026 bond is coming up.
Correct.
All right, let's think about how we can be really important. Let's think about how we can be really strategic on how we leverage that. Let's look at the historical investment, not just in this bond or the last bond. Let's look at the last few bonds, right? Let's look at the last 5 bonds, and then look at that kind of investment, because I know that there could likely be, and this is the data that I want the data to help inform this, because we don't have to make up stories. It's right there in black and white. All right. Now we look at where do we need to make some investments given what has not been historically invested in. That's part of the equity strategy. The other thing that we should be doing is we should be leveraging our strategies, our bond strategies, infrastructure investment strategies with the city of Dallas. With every municipality that's out here that has bonding capability and they go out for bonds, let's leverage that and make sure that we are getting the biggest bang for our buck. We understand we don't have infinite money, but we can use the money that we do have strategically. And we can use the bond to solve some really important problems that we know our district is dealing with, like for our educators, our teachers. Y'all know prices are up. Everything's high. Rent's high. Mortgages, high. It's gotten to be where the people who are the most important employees of the district, the ones who are working directly with our students, can't even live in the communities where they teach. Yep. They can't even live 30 minutes close to the communities where they teach in. So we got people driving out from Wiley. Like we got folks driving in from Allen, from far Grand Prairie, Garland, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
What if we use the bond in part to create housing for our educators? Yeah. The ones to be able to work here. We've talked a little bit about this, right?
Yeah.
What if we created subsidized housing or inclusively developed housing that allowed us to have not just the educators, not just the teachers, but the principals, the TAs, everybody who works in that school to get an opportunity to own or rent in places where we can leverage our bond dollars to solve a material problem that the school district is dealing with. We could do that.
Correct.
We can do that.
And for many people that's going to be watching this, that's going to say, hey, the school district doesn't do that and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, right now, we live in the current times where everything is at the table, right? Everything is a discussion to be able to explore, because at the end of the day, we are yet in a crisis where like he said, school teachers are not able to afford. I remember I was looking the other day online, and I was just looking at rent prices just to lease a home. Right. And I remember one of the houses was like 3,500 square foot for like $2,500 to move like 45 minutes away, right? And then that same 2,500 couldn't even get you 1,700 square foot in a house here in Dallas, right? So half of the house you couldn't even get. And so people don't understand, that's a real for sure crisis, that yet our frontline workers, teachers, police, firefighters, all of our nurses, our frontline workers cannot even afford to live in the cities where they yet serve, right? That's right. And so, I'm glad that you said that, and that's a huge problem. And of course, in that equity piece as we go forth, I always tell people all the time, we are in strange times right now. I know yesterday, over this past week, we've been seeing the layoffs of people in the Department of Education. Yep. You know what I mean? And just, I know that, Byron, you've been on the advocacy side of education. Yeah. You've done legislative work at the state. You've, right. Done these things, man. What does that mean to you? And just tell the people, like, what does that mean towards our future of what's going on in the attacks of our education system?
Well, one of the things that I think is a responsibility of a trustee is to be able to be a bullhorn. Yeah. A bullhorn for opportunity, and then a bullhorn for a fight.
Yeah.
Right now, make no mistake about it, we in a fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. The unfortunate part is just because of our system of education in this country, there's a lot of things that's outside of our immediate control, like what's happening with the federal government right now, where they're going to eliminate the Department of Education, which was one of the main outgrowths of the civil rights movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
With that, the impact of that is significant. And it's not just race, black and white, equitable investment in Title I schools and things like that. It's also about, special ed, right? The ability for people who have learning differences to be able to get what they need. It's about people who are English language learners, our immigrant communities. You say what you want, but these are babies too. They're here, and they're in our schools, and we need to be serving these young people.
Yeah.
The resources to be able to do that. High poverty school districts will suffer more than anybody else with the elimination of these federal resources.
Yeah.
All right? So what does that mean for us? One, that means that we're going to need a corresponding equitable overinvestment from the state.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of legislative session right now. We need to be pushing for every dollar and cent that we deserve. There's this movement around vouchers right now.
Yeah.
I am anti-voucher. The reason why is because even as a kid who in high school ended up getting a full scholarship to a private school, guess what? If my parents had the money at the time to be able to pay for it, that would have had to come out of their own pocket.
Correct.
To take public dollars and subsidize the decisions that wealthier people were already going to make for themselves and their families.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the other part is this, I've been in that private school world. I understand how it works. They got waiting lists. Mm-hmm. They're not sitting around waiting like, oh man, if we could just find enough people who wanted to come to this really nice exclusive school or something. No, they got waiting lists. Yeah. And they got waiting lists of people who can pay.
Yeah. So
subsidizing with $10,000 public dollars to go into a solution for a problem that we didn't even have. Mm-hmm. In every state that has done a voucher program none of them have ever seen any material increase in student achievement. It is not about the kids.
Yeah.
It's not about the kids. It's ideological, and it's designed to raid the public school system so that it makes it even more difficult for them to do the charge that they have for them, so that they can then come back around and say, look at how poorly they're doing.
Yeah.
Looks like we need to maybe privatize some of this. Looks like we may need to shut some of these things down.
Correct.
It's not even a Trojan horse. It's a full frontal assault.
Correct.
And I think we need to move away from that.
Without having a real critical conversation about the root of why we're here, right?
Exactly.
It's like skipping over the conversation. I was telling somebody the other day, dismantling the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Education, the landmark legislations that allow black and brown people the protections and our children, the protections that we had when we were going to school, right? If there's nobody in these department and agencies to enforce Brown versus the Board of Education, it's just a piece of paper. It's just basically Thurgood Marshall's legacy going up in the fire.
That's right.
If there's not a fair housing division in the Department of Housing, there's nobody there to enforce fair housing practices.
That's it.
So the problem is, it's like I've always tell people, man, we're going to lose rights that we didn't know we had.
Yeah.
When we lose them, and all hell going to break loose, right? And the reality is that people don't understand, man, the future of our country. Yeah. Our children are so under attack from history, from basic protections. And I'm glad that we talked about this, because I was also mentioning that some of the critical work that NGAN has done through the years is ensuring that parents who send their children to affluent neighborhoods, parents who, living in these areas in these type of racist acts and all of that, in the work that we have done with South Lake Curl and all of that, the stuff that don't get mentioned, because, a lot of times when you do advocacy work around youth, You can't release nobody's
Right,
name.
exactly.
You can't go on
don't
can't
have
go
the
on social
pictures.
media and
Yeah,
say, "Hey,
yeah.
Brad Johnson did this." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be sued as a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some of that work that never gets talked about in NGAN, right?
Yep.
But what is at stake right now in our country in regards to education? Tell us what your thoughts, man. And I know this is probably preaching to the choir, but this whole CRT stuff that's going on, man. I know I'm digging, man. But
No, I love it. No, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it. Critical race theory, right? This whole anti-DEI movement that's out there. You know what? There's not a class in a public K-12 district out here that was saying, all right, everybody, get out your CRT manuals. That's the first thing. But we know what it is, bro.
yeah,
They're using anti-DEI, anti-CRT as a simple pretext in order for us not to talk about the things that actually literally happen in this country. Mm-hmm. Because for a lot of people, even though we ain't talking about them, nobody alive right now was alive in 1823, 1830. Ain't nobody here participated in Red Summer, right, at the turn of the century. But for some reason, just talking about it is enough for people to feel convicted.
yeah,
That alone should be a message that we need to be talking about it.
correct.
So I think it is important that we don't erase history. I think it is important that we facilitate real open dialogue and beautiful discussion around the realities of what happened and how it relates to where we are today. I think it's important that Black and Latino kids get to understand that, one, the neighborhoods that they live in weren't always disinvested in.
Yeah,
Right? Here's the thing that I've seen happen, and you know, we talked about this before. If you don't know history, all you know is you're born into a world where you just look around. Like if South Dallas looks like a place that has been historically disinvested in, but you don't understand the history of that historically part, it just looks like you're like, oh, this is just what we do.
yeah,
This is just how we live. And you don't have any background and context around how we got here, it actually starts to have a bad self-perception impact on the people living in these communities.
Yeah.
They start to believe that this is all that I deserve. This is all that I'm capable of. It becomes this weird and just toxic self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
When in fact, if you understand the institutional forces that created redlining, if you understand the institutional forces that drove inequity through the GI Bill, if you understand just how housing at a federal, state, municipal level was intentionally creating disinvested communities explicitly aligned by race and ethnicity, then you start to have a very different outlook on life once you understand that. We have to be able to bring that and have those conversations in our schools. Now, here's what I will say. I do think we can adjust maybe our angle and framing. Here's what I mean by that. There's this whole concept. It's called targeted universalism. It's a couple of big words, but it's the basic concept by a brother. His name is John A. Powell out of Berkeley, UC Berkeley. And what he said was, all right, a lot of people don't understand the self-interest of equity strategies. They don't understand the self-interest of DEI. If you feel like you aren't part of one of these marginalized groups. So what he said was, let's pick a universal goal. Let's say we want Dallas ISD to be, just as an example, we want Dallas ISD to be the #1 urban district in the country. Okay, bet. That's the universal goal. But you have to now have targeted strategies.
Yeah.
The targeted strategy says the way you get to that universal goal, choose working and making sure that the people who are furthest from that goal get the most amount of investment.
Yeah.
get the most resources, get the specific targeted focus that they need.
Yeah.
Well, what is that in this district? The lowest performing group across dang near every outcome domain are black students, black boys explicitly.
Yeah.
So if we're saying we want this big old targeted goal, we're trying to be the best district out here, we're not going to be able to do that if black kids aren't successful.
Correct.
So you know what? We're going to have some black strategies.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make sure that we're doing things explicitly for black students in black communities. Mm-hmm. That is why equity strategies, not because somebody needs an advantage over somebody else. What we're trying to do is be collectively winners. And if we can collectively approach that, then we understand we're going to have some specific strategies. And some people are going to have to get different things than other groups do. And you know what? That's called common sense. Mm-hmm. So for us, DEI, all it is common sense in a different package.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You hitting it right on the head. Do you even need me on this interview? Man, let's go on do this. We were joking about this before we started. We just gonna do the monologue. You don't even need me, man. I don't even know why I'm sitting
Oh man,
here.
you know we getting our bag, bro. Like I seen you go to town. You can preach, bro.
Man,
like,
hey, listen,
when you're passionate about it, man.
You don't even need me. But it's important because that's the reason why I believe in your candidacy, because right now, we don't need to be guessing. We're in the fight of our lifetime right now. And at the end of the day, we know the school board elections used to be this thing that they used to call nonpartisan. But the reality is it's not nonpartisan no more. Yeah. And, I always tell people all the time, I beg to differ if it ever was, right, in my lens,
no, it's
right?
fair. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we know that nonpartisanship does not exist any longer, right? These elections are very partisan. School boards are being attacked, ramshacked across this country with so much different hypocrisy, just stupidity, just falsehoods. Man, I just couldn't tell anybody in just one segment of an interview of all of the different things that we have seen be done
at
school.
Wild.
Like school board meetings have been more off the chain than a county commissioner, city council meeting. Like these school board meetings, man, these parents been in here acting a fool in America.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
It's been wild.
It's really been crazy.
Yeah.
And it just like...
And people who oftentimes don't even have kids in their district.
Ooh. Oh, man.
You talk about interlopers.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, ma'am, your kids graduated 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like it's time to go home, baby.
Why are you here?
It's time to go home. Your kids graduated, like literally.
Pass the baton. Pass the baton, please.
So real quick, let's go into some of the critical needs. Some of the critical needs that you think Dallas ISD is needing right now. Yeah. Your candidacy, you representing District 5.
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table that, that is a new nuance to this horseshoe of 9 individual, single district members?
Well, one of the things, if we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is something that's just really important.
Yeah.
It's critically important, not just for the kids, especially for the kids, of course, but also for our educators. Yeah. If I'm going to be coming to work, I'm trying not to feel like I'm going into a place where I can't work. Yeah. Where I'm over here, having to have my head on the swivel and everything else. And, it's a nationwide question that school districts are asking themselves, but, this is my experience as well. At Big Thought, we literally had programs where we're working with many of the kids that a lot of places did not have success with, right? Yeah. We did work, like I said, in the alternative school.
Yeah.
We did work in the juvenile justice system. Matter of fact, had the lowest recidivism rate, like lowest reoffense rate among students 10 years running in the state of Texas. I get to draw on those experiences as we start to talk about how can we improve discipline and safety in our schools, in our campuses. Yeah. Restorative justice is actually not being soft on kids. It's actually, in some instances, it's a little tougher. Yeah. Because what we're demanding is accountability.
Yeah.
but it's also paying attention to the science.
Yeah.
It's paying attention to the lived realities of both these kids and the educators who are working with them.
Yeah.
And if we make the right kinds of investment in the reset rooms, for instance, it's not that the idea is bad. It's just that I think we need more resources to execute to full fidelity of the plan, right?
It's a growing process.
It's a growing process. We don't need to get off that train. I promise you, it can work, and when it works, it is beautiful.
Correct.
And it's not somebody having to walk around being a sergeant of the campus, because the kids start to own their own.
Correct.
They start to become the peer leaders of each other, right? But we have to have the right investment, and we need to leverage partnerships, because I'm under no illusion, especially with constricting resources, that the district has all the tools in their own pocket in order to execute on that strategy. So I think we need to be leveraging those partnerships. But we can get to a place where we're increasing safety while we're reducing the need to kick kids off campus, do out-of-school suspensions and things like that, because the other part is this, too. If a kid's not in school, their butt's not in the seat, which means we're also not getting the revenue that we also know we need.
Correct.
So attendance and enrollment, we can make a big bump if we take care of discipline and safety in a creative and innovative way. The other thing that I'll also elevate that I bring to the table is, one of the things we need for our young people, we're having a chronic absenteeism problem. Mm-hmm. Not just in Dallas, everywhere else, but it's happening. When the pandemic happened, we broke norms on like, oh, I got to get up and go to school. A lot of people did.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't.
And a lot of people didn't. And we haven't fully gotten back to the did part yet, right? So, but one of the reasons why is because for too many young people right now, the lives that they're living, they feel like school isn't relevant for them.
Correct.
They don't know why they're there. I'm there because you told me to go. What if we had more opportunities, though, that were connected to career pathways where kids had a chance to earn and learn?
Yeah.
Why is that such a cuss word for kids to be able to get paid while they're doing something that gets them credit? That's one of the things we've been involved in for the last several years, man. I've seen some amazing models of this across the country in public schools, man. Rural communities, urban communities, there's ways for us to do real-world learning that brings real-world money and can address two issues and conundrums that a lot of our young people are facing. Yeah. If I know that I can go to school, I'm learning about what I can do in a career, and I have an opportunity to actually get some Skrilla, like, yo, I'm interested. You have my attention. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we can do that not just in career academies. Mm-hmm. We could do that not just in magnets or choice schools, which I love choice schools. I love innovation schools.
I think you just told your age. Skrilla. Okay. Really? You did it. I did say it. I couldn't let you get away with that.
To all the young people out here.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
I just couldn't let you get away with that.
Bro.
Listen, I couldn't let you get away with that, brother. I'm just trying to tell you, hey, if y'all want to know if he hip and he ready.
I mean, listen, this is my culture, is my language. And he with me too. I ain't alone out here, bro.
Man, I hate talking to my nephews and stuff like that. I just get away from me. Get away from me with all that.
Look here, young blood. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know nothing about this right here, boy.
For real, you know for real. So tell me right now, and this is one of the final things. Right now, I know for Dallas taxpayers right now, the city of Dallas is in a financial crisis, but that has not been the same with Dallas ISD. Yeah. Even though every public school district in the state of Texas is in dire need of the per student allocation to go up, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, in the history of Dallas ISD has been able to keep a substantial rainy day fund, right? Yep. And I always tell people all the time, one of the good things about Dallas ISD having a good financial rating is the fact that they've been able to save, for that rainy day, Right. But at the end of the day, when you have a growing economy, in bond elections, is you've been able to see a good bond go. We just did a $3.5 billion, And I know Conversations is preparing
Yep.
for an upcoming bond election, and you're going to be on the school board when
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually get voted on to go to the voters,
God
right?
willing, yeah, that's right.
Tell us real quick some of the things that you would like to see
Yeah.
in this coming bond election that may not been in the past bond,
Yeah.
but future. I know you hit on it with affordable housing and
Yeah.
different things of that nature, but just give us that real quick.
I will say I'm a double click on that one again. Affordable housing has to be part of it. The other reason why I'll say that is because it doesn't just affect the educators who would be able to get access to that housing. It affects the entire community where it's built, right? So that type of investment is actually an investment not only in the school district, but it's an investment in the communities where we would build the houses as well. Because with the housing, with people who have money to buy things at groceries and stuff like that, you'll see other infrastructure investment come. That's one thing. The other thing is this, man. There's some schools that we need to be finishing out. There's some schools that need updating. Our elementary schools need some work. We have some beautiful new high schools, and there's probably still some work that needs to be finished out in those. But we need to walk through the verticals. We need to get to the other parts of the feeder pattern. Investment in those facilities. I have a deep desire for us to see us invest in things that would fall in the 360 wraparound services world.
Yeah.
So here's a notion around what I think we can think about strategically. We have these resource centers that the school district has invested in. That's phenomenal. I think we need to be thinking also about what are some existing partnerships that are out there where people currently go? Like they're going to these community centers, they're going to these places that are these trusted partners there. Is there a way that we can actually use bond dollars to, instead of having to build a brand new facility, is there a place that where we can have, again, leveraged opportunity where we're getting more bang for the buck and we're investing in a place that is already a place where these people go? Can we build better infrastructure there? Can we use our partners, right? And I think the bond could be an opportunity for us to talk about that. The last thing I'll say, and I'll be honest with you about this, bro. I have had a dream of this. I don't know if we've even talked about it before, but aviation, man.
Ooh.
We got DFW Airport, one of the largest, busiest airports in the world. We have Southwest Airlines headquarters. We have the American Airlines largest hub that they've got. We got 2 Lockheed Martins. We've got Raytheon. We've got Bell Helicopter right there in Fort Worth. We have all of these Amazon. Amazon is one of the biggest, if we wanted to call them airline, they one of the biggest ones on the planet. They're right up, over there, right by DFW. We have all of these aviation-related jobs, bro. But what we don't have yet is a robust aviation program that can not just create the mechanics, but also the pilots, the ones flying things. I think it would be beautiful if we had some innovative program career partnerships that we could invest in our schools that allowed us to really build out these powerful programs that were essentially creating a walk-in door to the employers out here. We should be using our bond dollars to robustly make those investments in our school district as well.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, man, the bond that I think we're going to be going out to the community with should be used to not just get us at parity to other school districts. We need to be thinking about innovation. How do we soar? Yeah. How do we push ourselves to the limit? Trendsetters, man. Yeah. Use a creative application of these resources and not just things things that we have. I think, especially in the more recent years, been able to successfully do. Right? Yeah. Maxie, perfect play. I would talk about this the other day. Why would turf be that big of a deal?
Man, that's crazy. You brought that up, man. I tell people that all the time. Years ago, this man sat in that charrette meeting and said, I want artificial turf on all practice fields. And I looked at him like he was crazy. It was like I was his first,
Yeah.
like literally person saying, "Man, you crazy out your mind." And it's crazy because at every comprehensive high school in Dallas ISD, every school has a practice field, artificial turf, football field on it. Man, I didn't mess these knees up a little bit on that football field. So you know.
But think about it. To your point, to the point that you made, sock.
Yeah.
When sock got to be what sock is today, the enrollment went up. And when the enrollment goes up, again, revenue comes back to the district. Things like that, things that seem like little things can actually be materially important to a family making a decision whether they're going to come here or not. You know what I'm saying? So that's the opportunity we have, bro.
Man, I'm so grateful to everyone who has joined us today in this interview of Byron Sanders, who's running for Dallas ISD District 5, y'all. Election is May 3rd. Y'all got to come out, get out and vote so that we can get the resource that is needed for our community and pushing forward. I believe Byron has his theme for this year. What is that theme?
Power D5.
Power D5, y'all. So I just want to be able to tune out right now. I hope that y'all go out and vote. I hope that y'all see this video as the Next Generation Action Network and as me personally, Minister Dominique Alexander, publicly endorses Byron Sanders for Dallas ISD District 5 School Board Trustee. See y'all later.